Well, it's official. The 5.7 has officially entered the mainstream. How do I know this? Well, because recently PSA has released one, the Rock 5.7. Now that's not a dig at the 5.7 or PSA by any means. You guys know I love PSA. What I mean by that is there's finally a way for all of us to get into the 5.7 game without having to sell off a kidney, which is great for me because I don't think I'd get enough for a kidney to be able to buy a 5.7, not even one made by PSA. If you're new to this channel, my name is Mike and I am an outdoor and shooting enthusiast. I mean it, I love this stuff. If you're looking for short form videos, check my second channel, 360TS Shorts, link below for that. Over there I post outtakes from this channel, raw shooting footage, and little previews of things that are to come for this channel over there. All of the spoilers for what's happening here on this channel happen over there on that channel. Okay, that's enough shameless self-promotion. Let's get down to business. Being as cheap as I am, I never really wanted to get into a 5.7. FN not only made the ammo, but they made the only guns on the market, and the pricing for both was just outrageous. To be honest, it still is. If I'm going to spend $1,000 on a gun, sadly, it's not going to be on an FN 5.7. Oddly enough, I have no qualms about spending a couple thousand on an STI, or now known as Staccato. So on top of the $1,000 or so that it costs to buy an FN 5.7, then you have the cost of ammo, which used to not be too bad. It was more expensive than most other handgun ammunitions, but in the last couple of years, it's really skyrocketed to an unreasonable level. Personally, I just said screw it, no thank you, hard pass. Recently, a couple of things have changed though, and that's what's brought us here to this point of doing this video. This is the Rock 5.7 by PSA, a 5.7 that pretty much anybody can afford to own. Seriously, this thing costs less than a Glock 19. Not only does it cost half of what an FN 5.7 costs, it's $500 for the base model. Can you believe that? It's only $500. Not only is the Rock seriously budget friendly, but it's also made by Palmetto State Armory. What that means is it's made here in the US and it's made by a company that backs up their product 100%. Where even is the FN made? FN stands for FN no idea where it's made. I don't know. But it damn sure ain't made here in the US. The Rock comes with 2 magazines, and as long as you live in a free state, and I mean free, these bad boys hold 23 rounds. The FN and Ruger pistols, chambered in 5.7 by 28, both only hold 20 rounds in their mags. Don't ask me what kind of sorcery PSA used to get that extra 3 rounds in these things. So you know what? I don't know. And you know what else? I ain't mad at it. Real quick on the topic of mags, these things are made out of metal. Just as a quick overview, they do seem really high quality, and one of the best parts about these mags is that PSA sells spares for like, I don't know, 20 bucks. I mean, that alone should get you on board with this thing. My 10mm M&P, that came with steel mags. When I was finally able to find some spares just before the mag ban here in Washington, I believe I paid a little over $60 a piece for those. A lot of companies have really started increasing the pricing on their mags over the last few years, and don't even get me started on the price of 2011 mags. So yeah, it's nice that if you buy the Rock 5.7, you know, not only is the gun itself affordable, but spare mags are too. Side note, apparently the mags for the Rock will fit the Ruger 5.7, but the Ruger 5.7 mags won't fit the Rock. You know, just in case anybody's wondering. Now, I don't know this from personal experience. That's just what's posted on the PSA website. So yeah, we finally have a budget-friendly version of the 5.7, and that's awesome because these things are actually really fun to shoot. I'm not going to claim to be some kind of 5.7 expert. I've done pretty much all the same research that everybody else out there has done. Like I said, I don't own the Ruger and I don't own the FN. Hell, this one right here, the Rock, this one is a loaner. Just before the mag ban in Washington, I did actually order some mags for the 5.7 just in case later on I decided to go ahead and get my hands on one of these. I wanted to make sure that I had some real mags for it. So that's it. My experience consists of this single gun chambered in 5.7. That being said, Shooting this gun is enough to get me on board with the platform. When I look at this gun, when I hold it in my hand, it actually really reminds me quite a bit of the PSA dagger. It really feels like the dagger's big brother in terms of ergonomics and grip texture. Now, I do have a video review coming very soon on the dagger, but I have the Rock 5.7 currently on loan. I wanted to get this video knocked out. I figured I would start with this one and work my way back to the dagger from there. The actual shape of the two pistols is really similar. I will say though, I do feel like the Rock fits my hands a little bit better than the dagger does. Something about the sizing or shape of the grip just feels a lot better to me personally. The Rock has a very similar undercut and trigger guard to the dagger, although I will say I wish that PSA would have used the same trigger guard style as what the Polymer 80s have. Visually, I like that trigger guard a lot better. The other thing is if they had used the same trigger guard, there'd be a lot more options for holsters available. Kind of a missed opportunity if you ask me, but hopefully holster manufacturers will catch up soon. If any of you have found a good holster that fits the Rock, go ahead and hit that comment section down below and let me know where you found one. The texture of this gun is weird, but not in a bad way. It's not as rough or aggressive as I would normally look for in a handgun. Again, it is very close to what the PSA dagger feels like in terms of grip texture. The Rock is smooth though, but still has enough grip that I feel confident I'm not going to lose my grip on it, even on these hot days where my hands might get sweaty and clammy, or I may end up having, some rain or mud or whatever on my hands. And I don't know if it's the grip texture itself or the size or the shape or whatever the case may be that makes it feel so comfortable in the hand, but I feel like that grip is just as solid as any other gun that I have. Another thing I really like is that the frame has textured index points on both sides, and if you have watched my Hellcat Pro review, you know that I absolutely love the way that those feel on a gun. I think they're really useful, and I think that more guns need to have that. The mag release on this gun is easy to get to. It feels good. It feels solid without feeling like it's hanging up or sticking. Some guns you just really have to mash on that mag release to get it to actually do its job. That's not how this one is. It is stiff enough that it's secure, but light enough that it's easy enough to get your mag to drop out, which is really nice. There's nothing worse than getting a gun brand new and having to break it into the point that controls actually work. For you left-handed shooters, that mag release is reversible, so you can pop it out, switch it over, and use it as a lefty if you like. Speaking of ambi controls, the slide release, not so much. It's only going to be on the left side. So left-handed shooters, you're probably already used to shooting guns that don't have it on the opposite side, so it's probably not a big deal. At first, the shape of the slide release seems kind of strange. After using it a little bit, it's nice because it sits flush enough up to the gun that I don't have to worry about accidentally catching my thumb on it and locking the slide open. But it's easy to use. When I reach down with my thumb, it's right there. It doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to press it down and have the slide move forward. It's actually pretty comfortable, and I wish that more companies would put the time and effort into the design stage that PSA has done with this gun overall, but definitely with that slide release. A lot of the positive points of this gun have to be experienced firsthand. A lot of the stuff isn't stuff that can readily be verbally explained. You got to get one in hand to really experience it. This is probably a good time to cut in and mention that I don't really have any affiliation with Palmetto State Armory. Like I said, this gun is a loaner. It belongs to a friend of mine who loaned it to me so that I could test it and do the review. PSA didn't hook me up. They didn't pay me. And my only actual tie to PSA is that I am an affiliate for them. What that means is that when you click my Palmetto State Armory links and then you buy something, anything, I do receive a small commission. And believe me, it's going to take a hell of a lot of people buying stuff before I get enough commissions to get myself a Rock 5.7. Because you know what? It's not like I get price breaks or free shit. I'm letting you know this because I want you to feel confident in my views and opinions. I want you to feel confident that those views and opinions are mine and they haven't been bought and paid for by anybody. Hell, PSA could send me a rock right now and it really wouldn't change anything. When I find things that I don't like, I am brutally honest about it, and that's just who I am. I'm going to be honest whether I pay for something out of my own pocket, whether it gets sent to me for free, or whether a friend goes ahead and loans it to me. Anyways, that's just me. And me, I really like this gun, for the most part. The takedown procedure, it feels weird, and it's confusing, it's clunky. And it's unlike any other gun that I've taken down. So it gets a little bit frustrating when I'm trying to take the gun apart so that I can clean it up and, take a look at the internals. Now, I'm going to go ahead and avoid throwing any video footage of the takedown procedure in here because probably what's going to happen is that this video is going to end up under review from YouTube. Some kid with multicolored hair who lives in their mom's basement is going to be watching this video and showing the takedown procedure. They are going to decide and label this as showing you how to build a firearm, which couldn't be further from the truth. We all know they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, but it is what it is. So let's move on. Just trust me, the takedown procedure for this gun sucks. I hate it, and let's move on to the trigger. Averaging at just over a 6-pound trigger pull. The Rock is a little bit heavier than what I'm used to, a little heavier than what I like. But you know what? Even though it's a little over 6 pounds, it doesn't feel as bad as what the trigger pull gauge says that it is. There's a fair amount of take up, and then the wall is solid and pronounced. Once you pull through the wall, that's it. There's pretty much no over travel. The reset is fairly short, and then you're ready to do it all over again. The whole process is pretty clean as far as being a stock trigger, especially in this price range. Honestly, it's a decent trigger. And really, I don't even know what kind of parts they're basing the trigger system off of, or whether or not there are upgrades out there for it, or what to even look for. I haven't looked that deeply into it because it is, of course, a loaner. You know what I'm going to say next, though. This gun needs an Apex flat face trigger, just like every other gun that's on the market. Till that happens, though, honestly, this trigger's workable. I feel like once the break-in period is over with, I think that it's going to be good enough that if this were my personal gun, once the break-in period was over, I could be content with the trigger for the foreseeable future. If there were no Apex available, I guess. This gun is basic in all the right ways. Like the sights, for instance. I mean, it uses standard Glock sights. How much easier does it get? I mean, there are literally thousands of options out there for Glocks. The pricing is super low on Glock sights. You can go ahead and pick a pair up of your favorite Glock sights and slap them on this bad boy and have a nice upgraded sight system. Does it need it? Probably not. These ones are not bad. They're actually metal sights, which is nice, but they're not horrible. I'd say they're definitely better than stock Glock sights. Of course, that's not saying much. It doesn't take much to beat a Glock in the stock sight department. But you know what? If you want to upgrade them, it's cool. They're not going to break the bank. And I love that about Palmetto State Armory. I really do. Value all day long. Don't get me wrong. The FN 5.7 is cool. But for the price of the FN 5.7, I can buy 2 of the Rock and dual wield them. And that is way cooler at the end of the day. And remember, PSA makes quality products, and they back those products up with one of the best warranties in the business. I will take the Rock over any 5.7 on the market any day of the week. It's a flat shooting gun, which means if you can afford the ammo, you can shoot it fast as hell and stay on target. I will, of course, leave the breakdown of the benefits of the 5.7 round to somebody with much more experience than me. For those of you who haven't seen the 5.7 by 28, here's a little size comparison. First, we have 22 long rifle. Then we have our standard 9mm. We have our 10mm. We have our 45 ACP. Over here we have the 5.7 by 2.8, then we have the 2.23, and of course we got some trusty old 7.62. As you can see, in terms of projectile, there's not much difference between the 5.56 and the 5.7. Overall, realistically, it just looks like a miniature version of that 5.56 round. I'm just going to say you have a lot of power in this crazy little round with almost no recoil at all. Let's take a look at some footage of the Rock 5.7 and the Tandem Cross Smith & Wesson Victory. Smith & Wesson Victory is a 22 long rifle. Not only is this thing a 22 long rifle, but it also has a compensator on it. It's got an acceleration pad here for your thumb. Like, this thing is about as tricked out as it gets, side by side with a stock 5.7. Just looking at the video footage, it is crazy how little amount of recoil that a 5.7 really has. Low recoil, high velocity. You have a low chance of over penetration. Not only does it pack a punch, but you can potentially cut through body armor like a hot knife through butter, as long as you have the correct rounds. And I believe it's level 1 or level 2 body armor. I'd have to look that up, and honestly, I'm not that interested in that aspect of the 5.7. So we'll save that for another time. The 5.7, bottom line, it's got some cool stuff going for it. Although its two biggest downfalls actually go hand in hand. First off, there are just not enough weapons that utilize this ammo. There really isn't. It's not like a 9mm where you can walk into any gun store in the nation and find, dozens of different guns that shoot 9mm. No, for now you have a very limited number of weapons that will fire the 5.7 round. Of course, the other negative is the pricing and availability of ammo, and that happens because there are so few guns that fire it. You aren't going to find a huge stockpile of this ammo in your local gun store. You might find a box or two, but it's going to be fairly high priced. Just for numbers' sake, I did buy some 5.7 ammo for this review, and what I ended up paying was a little over 80 cents a round. In comparison, I paid right about 60 cents a round for the ammo for the 10mm M&P. By the way, I'll have that review finalized here within the next month or so. I still have some number of ammo that I want to burn through with that before I do my final review. Anyways, the ammo for the 5.7, it's expensive and it's hard to find. Now, if PSA didn't have a plan, I wouldn't see them going all in on a pistol that's chambered in 5.7. With the Rock coming out, it is making it so much easier for people to get into that 5.7. The price of the Rock is low. It is a good quality gun, and it's pretty much always in stock. They sell a standard version. They sell one that has night sights. They have one that is cut for an optic. And they also have one that is cut for an optic and has a threaded barrel. All of these are relatively inexpensive. In fact, the most expensive model is still right around the same cost as a Glock 19. I don't see PSA coming out with a gun that has this much value packed into it without a plan for ammo. As a lot of you know, PSA recently started up their own ammo company, AAC. I have a crap ton of their 9mm here in the office right now. It's working really well through all of my 9s. No problems whatsoever. My hunch is that AAC will, at some point in the very near future, start producing 5.7 ammo. Not only will they start producing it, but they will probably turn it out like crazy to the point that the cost will actually fall down to a somewhat reasonable level. A lot better than 80 cents for this Federal, that's for sure. This, of course, is a hunch, and we can all keep our fingers crossed, because if there is anything that PSA does well, it is bring value to consumers in the 2A market. Till that day comes, we're stuck with buying ammo for the 5.7 from just a small handful of companies. It is overpriced and it's hard to find. It is what it is, though. You know what, though? If you want a gun that is fun to shoot, a gun that has almost no recoil at all, but can still be used as a serious defense weapon, PSA's Rock 5.7. It is one hell of a buy. Now, I just need to go ahead and order one for myself.